Good morning, all. It's Consciousness Rising here, Mind Your Head, and we have Natasha back with us.
Good morning.
We've all missed Natasha, haven't we?
Not really.
We have. Anyway, as you know, we've been very busy with Billy, so we've had to wait. You've had to wait for your Tartarians part 2.
But shall we get cracking?
Yeah, let's go for it. Go on, Tasha.
So again, it's that remembering that thing that this is just stuff that I've read and stuff that I've researched.
Yes.
Doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's not true. Doesn't mean there's more to it. Doesn't mean you can look further. Doesn't mean you can take from it what you want to take from it.
Yes.
It's just what we've looked up. So, judging by the Gothic architecture across the world, it is assumed that the Tartarians were in fact Moors or Berbers. So the Berbers were an Indian tribe, and the Moors are the same people who basically migrated to the North African coast.
I've got Moor's blood in me.
You've got Moors blood in you.
Just
I
throw that
haven't.
in there.
I'm 100% Celtic. I only have Scottish and Irish in me, and then nothing
That's
else.
quite nice, though.
Very dull, isn't it?
No, it's not dull. It means that
Pure, yeah, there's nothing
you're
else.
a pure blood, darling.
Not even like a little bit of French, a little bit of nothing else. Nothing. So I was a bit annoyed by that, if I'm honest.
Aww.
But there we go. So both of which are basically one of the same people, and they are the Khmer. Would you pronounce that Khmer?
Khmer.
Khmer people, which were also known as the Kham, the Kem, the Shem, the Cam, the Ham, the Sam, and the I Am.
It sounds like a Dr. Seuss poem.
Doesn't it?
Sam I am.
Sam I Am.
I do not like green eggs and ham. Yeah.
Sam I Am. And these are all people, again, who originated from India. So the word Moorish has 2 meanings. It means mariners, so related to navigation. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And also dark-skinned people of maroon brownish tone.
Am I maroon brownish?
You are a bit maroonish, aren't you? A bit maroonish. And then alongside this, there's an alternative theory on American history, and that Islam was in America and had a big influence on the country.
Yeah, this is what I'm very interested in, actually.
So there are a total of 565 names of Arabic origin, 484 in America and 81 in Canada.
So you're talking about people's surnames?
No, talking
Their
about
family names?
No, talking about places
Oh,
in America.
place
Towns,
names.
mountains, rivers, things like that.
Okay, so geographical.
Geographical names. So these names were designated by natives before the arrival of Columbus. So some of the names which have Islamic sounds or meanings or places even. You've got Mecca in Indiana.
Yeah.
That's called Mecca. Then you've got Medina. Now you've got a Medina in Idaho, in New York, North Dakota, Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, and Ontario. And then you've got Mahomet in Illinois. There's a Mona in Utah, and there's a Morocco in Indiana. So that's just a few.
And even Indiana as a state name is...
Sounds very, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And also the names of the native tribes were also Arabic in their etymological ancestry. So things like the Apache, the Arawak, Apache. I prefer Apache.
It sounds very posh.
Apache, the Arawak, there's the Chavan, the Cherokee.
Yeah, Cherokee.
That one.
Hohokam,
the Hopis.
Hopi.
The Mohican.
Yeah.
The Mohawk, and the Zulus. And that's just to name a few.
So they are all
Arabic.
By etymological origin.
Yes. So basically, there was Islam evidence all throughout America, and even if you look at like Queen Califia, California.
Oh yeah.
Then you've got Alabama, which is Alabamia, which is an Arabic terminology. Then you've got a place called Tallahoose, and there's Tallahoose, which is another Arabic word. And then the Isla Morda, Florida. So they're all kind of potentially...
So the root words.
Yeah, connected from... So you could ask, so what happened to the Moors or the Berbers in America? Obviously, you know, if they were there, where did they go? So the Spanish Inquisition, via the Dum Divasus of 1452, insisted that all Christians must enslave Berbers or Saracens, which is their other name, and all non-believers, and their land was slowly taken away, and they became sort of more and more ignorant and dumbed down, a bit like the people of today, I suppose, in many ways. They became enslaved, basically, and they kind of got rid of them.
So it was this when the Spanish went over, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in 1452.
But these people, were they considered to be Tartarians then?
Yes, because they're Berbers and the Moors, and that's where they reckon they all originated from. That's where they believe.
Okay.
The Tartarians, that's what they were. and
more
then they slowly, were sort of all over the world in the literature that I've read, shall we say.
Yes.
So the word Moor as well comes from the Orient, as we know. And according to a guy called Edward Said, who wrote a book on Orientalism, he says that Oriental means Western scholar who studies Islam. So
no, I never knew that.
Yeah, and there's also, if you read the subsection, I think it's subsection 4 of the Delaware law, it would tell you that the Lenape Indians were formerly known as the Moors, which is interesting. So that's back in the Delaware stuff, which is obviously American based. And then the word Lenape means we the people, or the people, which is interesting. And it also means serpent or dragon. And the Moors and the Indians, the American Indians as we call them, name themselves after the serpent wisdom that they worshipped.
Because the serpent wasn't originally a dark symbolism at all. It's connected in with the kundalini that rises in the body, and spiritual teachings, and shedding the skin.
Yeah,
and transforming.
It's been hijacked, isn't it? Like
it's
lots
been
of things.
hijacked.
Like lots of
so
things.
Basically, just to recap, so what we're saying here is that the Tartarians were actually all over the place.
Judging by the architecture, how it's the same.
And the names, the etymology. And that we have sort of, the history we've been taught is that they are all just Native American Indians that were wiped out by
Columbus or whatever.
By Chris.
By
I like to call him Chris.
Yeah, Naughty Chris.
Naughty Chris.
Yeah, and Chris went and did his thing, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we've been told.
Okay.
So that's an alternative theory into American history.
Yeah.
Or a brief bit of American history.
Yeah, teensy bit.
Once you start looking, it goes deeper and deeper. So then I thought I'd look at what they call energy star forts.
Yeah.
So we're led to believe that these are remains of bastion forts, which were built as a defence mechanism during the 1500s. They were said to give like really good viewing points so that they could see the ships coming in, but then they're also said to protect the people when they were in them. However, there is also a theory that the Tartarians built these energy star forts, and that they were basically like vibrational frequency energy system that sort of provided harmony and a sense of joy and in a self-contained environment. And they were built with sacred geometric patterns that represent the cosmos metaphysically or symbolically. The elements needed to determine a star city are the remains of a large lake, the long channels, stone bridges, stone streets, and like what they call the Roman baths. So we've got water as a massive feature again. Like it seems to be all the way through the Tartarian stuff, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So these are part of the infrastructure that leveraged the water to produce the magnetic frequency, basically all of those things. So we needed those bits to make it work. And it was designed to be absorbed and emitted back into the environment as breathable air. So it was like a sort of a harmonic thing where they harvest and harnessed it and then
sort of generated it back out again.
Yeah.
So would that air have been...
Well, apparently it produced sort of harmony, joy and like euphoric feelings.
So a bit like you breathe in this beautiful air and it actually raises your vibration and gives you good feelings.
Yeah, so basically different frequencies and sound vibrations gave different effects to the body and the mind, I suppose is the easiest way to describe it.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, like a lovely little...
Let's build a star fort.
There's plenty around, I think.
Well,
No, I wrote it down. There are 319 listed on a website called starfort.com, and there's even evidence of one in Shanghai, in China, and that was believed to have been one massive, great big...
So the whole of Shanghai was a star fort?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Wow.
And also, like, you know when you see... You know when they show you the picture of, like, the cymatics of the music? The shape of that is a star fort, and the same when they manage to get pictures of water...
Oh,
it's that same pattern.
Yeah, when they put them under the microscope.
Yeah, and they're all beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're all shaped very much
like
in the
stars.
same way as these star city things.
So it's a natural harmonic of the universe in a sense then.
So I don't know whether they all lived inside these or they went there for a certain amount of time to get healed, or because they say that the churches were the healing centres, but then I've also read that the churches were more healing centres for animals.
Okay.
And maybe more acute things, whereas these Or maybe the other way around. Maybe the star cities were more like what we'd call a hospital, and people went there to properly regenerate and rejuvenate, and maybe the churches were more of a less, you know, sort of just maybe an injury or something like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, starforts are massive, aren't they? They're big. Huge. So maybe that's like a whole collection of people can get.
Yeah, I don't know. Or did they just live? Just certain groups of people live like that, there, and that's just how they lived, and that's how they stayed. I don't know.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So the other thing I thought was quite interesting was the chimneys in these great big buildings, like the big castles and everything like that. So Tartarian fireplaces were very ornamental and grand, and apparently they did show like wealth, and the grander and more ornate your fireplace
was it a bit like I raise you your chimney with my chimney?
Yeah, it's a bit like, you know, Keeping Up with the Joneses. Oh, do come and look at my
do have a look at my
chimney.
Do come and look at my fireplace.
And they noticed that they used to have these, like you see in some of the old pictures, these sort of weird ornate things,
surrounds.
Yeah, and they were all part of something a little bit different.
The geometric thing again.
So basically, contrary to how we use fireplaces today, as in we light a fire, they were not engineered to burn anything at all. So chimneys, weren't used for the smoke to exit. That isn't what they're for. They think of it the opposite way round.
Oh, so it's drawing something down into the height.
So basically, so chimneys weren't used for smoke to exit, and the rebar. So rebar is a reinforced material like steel or what have you, and the rebar wasn't necessarily there just for the structural purpose. Yes, it did help with the structure, but the fact that it had the metal in it was
it more about conducting?
Vital, yes. So the rebar in the home is connected to the rooftop tower domes.
Yeah.
Which we've realised now is possibly filled with mercury and radium, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute, because obviously we've been told that they're bad. We've been told it's bad stuff.
Yeah,
I don't think it is.
I've been told about the mercury being involved.
And possibly like quartz crystal as well.
Yes.
Which we talked about before, didn't we? Anyway.
Yeah.
So the metal was then connected to the metal back plating, which was found all inside the chimney. So almost like a sleeve of metal. Yeah. And then the antiquitech on the top, as in, you know, the atmospheric energy spires, obviously brought down the...
Drawing down there.
Drew it down through the ether. And basically...
Oh.
That's really annoying. I thought I turned it off.
You've got some cherries in your bag, Tash.
I have got some cherries in my bag.
That's
Will. Will, don't phone me. Naughty Will.
Yeah, don't interrupt, Will. You can watch this later, mate.
Naughty Will. Where was I saying? So we got to the point where...
So that you've got the shaft of the metal, the steel, all round the chimney.
Yeah, so you had the plating all around, and then you had the antiquitech, and then it all basically got drawn down through the chimney. So, and then you had air ventilation shafts or ducts are found all throughout the homes, and they're all connected to this so-called chimney. So the rebar, the rooftop, the tower dome, and the metal poles acted like a spider web, attracting the energy from the ether and sort of concentrating this energy
down into the house.
Through the home, So similar to how spiders are able to grow and survive without food and water, so long as they are touching their web. Because they get the energy through their web.
I didn't know that about spiders.
So long as they're touching their web, they can survive for longer than if they weren't, because that's how they draw
they're getting their
energy, moisture and their energy and everything from their web.
I like that.
So a very, very similar thing to that. And Tartarians are able to grow and survive without food and water, so long as they stayed within these energised homes. So remember we spoke about their need for food. Yeah, so it's, I think, providing they were in this environment rather than they didn't eat, full stop.
If they were out and about in the world, going on a little travel, they'd have to eat. But if they were at home...
Or I wonder if eating was more just for joy, and it was just lots of fruit and things like that, rather than...
Sounds so nice.
Yeah, rather than this sort of need to feed ourselves. But yeah, so there is a theory that that's why they don't need their food. So so the free energy is drawn through from the ether, through the antennas, drawn to the metal backplate inside the chimney, which ionised the air inside of it. Then this ionised air, alongside the raising and falling of hot and cold air currents, created pressurised electric vacuum inside the chimney. So in the winter it acted that way as pressurised vacuums, radiating the trapped heat inside the chimney, out through the fireplace, out through the air ducts, and in the summer it reversed the process.
So in the summer it would cool you down, and in the winter it would warm you up.
Yes, basically air conditioning.
It was like central heating and air conditioning.
Or air conditioning, because it could do both. Central heating can only heat.
Yeah.
Can't keep us cool.
Yeah.
So yes, it was basically reversed the other way round. So it would get the heat out of the house and extend it out.
How clever is that?
So they think that radium, uranium, which is basically radium and uranium together, they call it radio-uranium as one word.
Okay.
It was possibly in capsules, and they were present in all fireplaces and stoves. So this is a vital point perhaps of conducting the heat. And possibly in the ornate things
awnings
as well.
Around the outside.
Yeah, the little pretty balls and orbs or whatever you want to call them.
What we've really realised is all of that decoration has purpose.
It all has purpose.
It's not just aesthetic, is it?
No, definitely not at all. And the same with mercury. They think that mercury was used.
Yeah, I've read about that before, because mercury, you can get it to spin, can't you, depending on which magnetic.
Yeah.
So I know that it's very responsive and
So
reactive.
I think both uranium and mercury, we've been told.
Ooh! Sorry, guys. We are so damn professional. Right, hang on.
All came tumbling down.
Oh my God! Right.
Was that my foot that did that?
Carry on regardless. I don't know how that happened.
Sorry about that.
Never mind.
Yeah, so basically we've been told things like radioactive things and, radium and these things and
To
mercury
keep away.
are all really bad.
Yeah.
But perhaps it's because they're really, really powerful. And also I think mercury had they used to call it yellow cake. They enriched it together. I think they put uranium and mercury together, gave it a name called yellow cake, and perhaps with some sort of gold composition in that as well.
Because gold's a massive conductor.
Yeah, and I think nuclear as well means electromagnetic.
Well, the word nuclear.
Yeah. So you had the domed resonators would have been the capacitors.
Mm.
And if you think about them, they looked. If you've got a domed building, there was a little area that looks like the bandstands. You know when you see a bandstand,
Yeah.
and that it's like an empty void, isn't it?
Mm.
They think in there was perhaps where the mercury, the
uranium.
uranium, whatever it was. That's the missing puzzle as to how the energy was properly harvested and used, sort of thing. So that would make sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
In that little area, and also the little, I think they're called orbs, which at the bottom of the spiky things that go up, there's round orbs.
Yeah.
They're possibly mercury.
Would have been in there or something.
Would have been moving around in those, which would have
I think that's what I was reading about.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because as well, with the precious metals, so they think that mercury is probably a precious metal. So gold represents the sun, silver the moon, and mercury is considered the communicational energy.
Between the two. Yeah, mercury is always about...
So it is interesting, isn't it? And if you think about mercury, of course, if you inject it into you, it's going to kill you. But if you inject loads of things into you, it's going to kill you.
Well, it doesn't, just because we need to use these conductive metals and stuff doesn't mean we need to inject them into our bodies.
Exactly. That's what people say. Oh, it's really dangerous. It will kill you. It's poisonous. But
only if you eat it.
Yeah, exactly. You don't eat gold. Well, no, you do eat gold and silver because you can take it internally. But again, if you had too much of it, too much of anything would kill you.
And even the silver, the colloids that we use, they are actually produced using electricity.
They're amplified.
So so it's a tiny trace of it in each water molecule.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like we're necking loads of silver. This silver's really chewy. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. So yeah. So obviously, then everyone talks about how did they go?
Yeah.
How did the Tartarians go? If they existed as a civilization. So there's lots of theories. Everyone's heard about the mud flood theory, but you look into that and some people say it was a flood, like the Great Waters. Other people say it was from brick melt. Okay. So perhaps there was direct energy that attacked and the buildings.
Direct energy weapon?
Yeah, melted and it was like a brick melt. And then of course it's very, once it melts and it would turn into...
hard.
And then eventually turn into dirt and the earth that we use
dust
to do stuff with. Yeah, basically. And then, of course, the other thing is, let's think about how many resets they probably have done. So, 1095 to 1291, the Roman Catholic Crusades, was estimated 3 million.
Yeah.
1206 to 1368, the Mongolian conquest, 30 to 40 million. That's really high, and that is in that area. That's in their region.
Yeah.
1347 to 1351, the Black Plague. That's 25 to 200 million. So that's big, isn't it, the plague? 1370 to 1405, the conquest of Timor. So that is modern Afghanistan now.
Okay.
So again, that's their area. So that was 8 to 20 million. 1937 to 1453, the 100-Year War, which was a war between England and France, 1 million. 1519 to 1632, the Spanish takeover of South America, 34.5 million. Again, interesting, that the South American thing.
Yeah.
And the Americas, you know.
Yeah.
1562 to 1598, the French Wars of Religion, 3 million. And so it goes on. The more common ones, of course, we've got World War One, 8.5 million. Then the Spanish flu vaccine, because it was a vaccine, 30 to 50 million. So people do say that was the final thing. And then World War Two, I think, got rid of a lot of the buildings and a lot of the evidence.
Yeah, because there was a lot of bombing, obviously, and we also know that, was it 60 million?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, wasn't it?
So basically then we know there have been lots of resets, lots of sort of culling through these sort of events, and also then we've just got the usual sort of pillage and murder of tribal peoples, which happened all across North America.
Yeah.
So a combination of all of that.
And then the fires, don't forget the fires.
Oh, yeah.
So there was obviously the Great Fire of London. Then the Great Fires, New York had 3, 1776, 1835 and 1845. And then there was the Great Boston Fire of 1872. And then again in Russia, interesting area, they had the Soviet famine of 1921 to 1922, where it's estimated 2 million Tartars, because that was their region, and that was on the map, and it did exist, perished. And then again in 1932 to 1933, there was another famine, Soviet famine, and there were millions, but it was none of it was recorded. It wasn't evidenced properly.
We don't know how many died.
So think of these dates, it's not that long ago.
No.
Not that long ago at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, so I would urge people just to do a little bit of research into it, and look at the mud floods, look at mercury. There's also something called red mercury, which is known as another conspiracy theory.
Okay, which means in my book that means it's absolutely true.
Probably it's true. Yeah, so look into that one as well, and that's something that they think they managed to use a lot as well with this whole energy thing. So red mercury, and yeah, just look into it and make your own judgment and see what you think. But I just found it all completely fascinating.
But I think the important thing is just to be aware that we've been completely lied to about
and we're never going to really know the history, because none of us were there.
But we've got the clues that there was free energy, that there was a peaceful
civilization,
which was far more advanced than the one
and
we
look
have
at
now.
I mean, just look at the architecture. I mean, it's
I know.
so stunning.
It is amazing, isn't
and just
it?
imagine if the whole realm was like that at one point.
It must have been beautiful.
Absolutely stunning, yeah. And I think nothing suffered as well. I believe that animals, there was obviously they didn't eat in the way that we eat. There was no mass farming. There was no farming in that way. Animals were respected and treated well as well. It was just
which they always should be, shouldn't they, Tash?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll leave it there.
Well, thank you, Tasha.
Sorry about all the catastrophe. My phone ringing and then everything falling down.
Yeah, the camera falling. We'll leave that in.
We're real people.
Yeah, we like our work to be very organic and truthful and real.
And we don't have time to re-record it.
No, because what we're doing this afternoon, Tash.
We're going to go and talk to the police and go and talk to some people at a vaccination centre.
Yeah, we're going to try and get it shut down.
Certainly educate them and serve them some papers.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll create a bit of hoo-ha in a very nice, polite way, professional way. But I'm quite looking forward to it, Tash. We haven't done a notice, but I know I am weird. We haven't done any serving for a while.
She's a strange one.
I miss it. I need it.
Yeah, no, it's good, because also you just don't know, we're just showing people the other side of the coin. So you don't know who you might be able to...
No. I always think if we wake up 1 or 2 people...
Yeah. Or just get people looking, because if you think about it, these people who are giving this thing in the arm, it's a very hard pill to swallow. If you think you're doing it for the greater good, and you honestly have no idea that you are maiming and possibly killing people. Yeah. You're going to be in denial, aren't you? It's human nature to do that.
It's going to be really hard to get their head around, and I think that's one of the things we're going to see over this coming year. Is we need to help each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever your role's been in all of this. Yeah. There's a lot of people innocently felt they were doing the best thing.
Yeah, and they're so indoctrinated, and they're so deep in it and deep in the fear that they don't realise what they're doing, and they can't listen to an alternative ideology because they can't, because if they have been harming people, how do you get your head around that?
No,
if you think
you've got to live with what you've... Yeah.
And I think with some of these people who work at these thingy centres, they only get trained in like an afternoon. They're not nurses or doctors. They're not medical professionals. They literally you can work in Asda and then you can go and train for half a day, and you can then give these things in the arm, and
it's mental, isn't it?
Crazy stuff. Anyway, ciao.
Ciao, and see you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.